everyone, this is me, Sarah Iqbal Khan from University of Management and Technology, and today we have with us Mr. Rowan Tonkin, who is basically a lead or director HR transformation at Oracle. Hi Rowan, how are you?
Hi, great, and very nice to be here in Pakistan. This is my first time.
Oh, that's great.
Very exciting.
Yeah. And how was your experience so far at today's conference?
Look, this has been a fantastic conference for a couple of reasons. The diversity of presenters, thoughts, just the approach has been fantastic. But the different organisations that are here thinking about the future of work and what that means for them and their organisation, it's been fantastic.
All right, that's great. So continuing with this theme of future of work, what do you think that future of work isn't a kind of myth because the Generation Z or millennial, they're kind of inhabitants of this Industrial Revolution 4.0. But somehow for Generation X or baby boomers, who are basically on the top leadership of any organization, and most of the speakers of today's conference as well, for them it's more a kind of VUCA times rather than for the Generation Z or millennials, because they really need to change their mindset and they really need to learn more skills as well. So what are your thoughts and opinions on this?
No, look, I think you're absolutely correct. I think a lot of the speakers have hit on the same point, that the future of work is not the future of work. It's work today. It's work today. So we need to think about the competencies, the capabilities, the technology, and the way we structure organisations now. Not wait for the future of work to arrive, because it's already here. The technology's already here, and we need employees, we need students, we need leaders in our organisations, in our communities that really know how to operate in this new digital world, because it's already here.
Right. One more question. Sure. We have been saying that, in case of this Industrial Revolution 4.0, don't you think that for Generation X or baby boomers to make a sweet entry into this new emerging realm, they should take on board the Generation Z or millennials on such kind of intellectual capital development forums in which, they can talk to each other, they can create research of consequence or new, interventions, and they come up with certain disruptions as well?
I think you're absolutely correct. Look, I think there's so much benefits on all the generations participating in this new environment together. It's not about one generation or another generation. There's benefits, experience, knowledge, energy, passion from all the generations. And I think organisations really need to take the opportunity of bringing all the young, the old, everybody together to think about how they can operate their organisations a lot better. Digital is age indiscriminate. It doesn't think about age. My grandparents use technology just as much as my 7-year-old son uses technology. So it's not about that. It's how we operate as a society and as human beings.
Thank you so much. It was really lovely talking to you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum. This is me, Sarah Iqbal Khan from University of Management and Technology, and today we have really a visionary leader with us who is full of panache and who is full of elegance and is always a source of inspiration for us. None other than Mr. Amir Niazi, who is basically the CEO, People and Business Advisory, HRSG. Assalamu alaikum, sir, and how was your experience so far today's conference?
Wa alaikum salam, Sarah. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. It's been one of the best experiences for me as a professional, for our organization, and I think for the country, because the focus on the rapidly changing circumstances in the workplace is an area where we as a country have still a long distance to go. But having said that, having these platforms is a great opportunity where we can learn from people who have been a part of that change, not only in the West and OECD countries, but also here within Pakistan. So overall, I would rate it rather highly at an international standard.
Great. Okay, sir, talking about the theme of this conference, which is basically on the future of work. And we have been listening since ages, and specifically in the recent years, that this is the age of disruptive innovation, this is the age of Industrial Revolution 4.0, and this is, the age we should be really careful and we should be really ready to, accept the emerging landscape of the future of work. And we have been somehow calling it as a kind of VUCA times. So, in my opinion, VUCA times is more VUCA for the top leadership, which is basically the Generation X or baby boomers, and which were mostly the speakers at today's conference as well. So, don't you think that these Generation X or baby boomers, they are kind of migrants into this emerging landscape, whereby millennials and Generation Z, they are inhabitants of this era. So don't you think it becomes more challenging for the top leadership falling in this category Generation X to be, evolve, to manage this Generation Z or millennials?
Brilliant question, Sarah. I think you've hit the nail on the head that perhaps people like myself might be obsolete. But having said that, regardless of what happens to AI, machine learning, robotics technology, and going to the moon through SpaceX, I shall say one thing to you, that people who are interested in being a part of the new landscape really have nothing to do with age, but it has a lot to do with attitude. If we have the right attitude to learn, to absorb, and to use our experience and judgment, and to be able to transfer that to the new generation, millennials, your generation, Sarah, I think there is no doubt that a mixture of the two, brilliant, innovative minds like yourself, and perhaps people with global experience like us, who have managed around the world in some very challenging economic, social, and development circumstances. It's the team of the two, the collaborative culture, that will define the future. And one more thing, we shall never be at a place in the future where we do not have a need for people. So regardless, even 20 years from now, there will be a greater need for people, the right people, than we've had perhaps in the last 100 years.
Right. So, in your opinion, you endorse this thing that for Generation X or baby boomers to mitigate the risk factor and the obsolescence factor in this VUCA times, we really need to collaborate and take Generation Z and millennials on board. The same page on certain intellectual capital development forums, whereby they can work together in generating research of consequence and new interventions and like kind of lot of innovations as well in this emerging landscape.
Absolutely, Sarah. Again, so right that unless we take the millennials and people at your age and with your maturity on board on intellectual capital platforms, on platforms of innovation, we shall be wronging the rights. And so on a number of boards that I have the privilege of serving, I have made sure that young people of your age, but with the maturity that you have and people like you have, are actually on the board. So 3 boards come to my mind right away where I serve, and I'm fortunate to be part of those boards. None of them are commercial boards, if you will. In other words, the board members are not paid but contribute on a voluntary basis. 30% of the members are actually the millennials. So yes, Sarah, that's where we are.
One last question, because I really need expert advice on that. We have been listening in this conference today as well, and a lot of recommendations were made whereby those formulas or those processes can be implemented somehow in organizations with larger setup and multinationals, right? Whereby 80 to 95% are SMEs in Pakistan, and somehow the leadership in those SMEs is not that professional. They're more family businesses, right? So what do you think to really transform and manage and create talent among the among these SMEs? What kind of ethical or professional leadership is required?
Oh, I think another central point. Yes, we do have a challenge in our SMEs that perhaps we are not at the level of professionalism. where we should be. Just attended the integrity and governance workshop hosted by the British government, Pakistan Business Council, and ACCA. And that's the very topic that we discussed. And I think we have the responsibility to then take ethics, integrity, character, courage, and experience of governance to those SMEs. And people like myself must be able to demonstrate visible leadership, emotional leadership, to ensure that we transfer that knowledge to that such an important constituency, which, as you point out, Saira, is, yes, 90% of our GDP.
Thank you so much. It was really lovely talking to you, and we really need like-minded people like yourself who can really, transform Pakistan and can really lift its ranking in all of the, key critical indices like GII and GCI and KI, and that will not be possible without people like you. Thank you so much. Now we have with us Mr. Azam Abdi, who is basically the country manager, applications Oracle. Assalamu alaikum, sir, and how was your experience so far at the conference today?
Ji, Walaikum Salam. It's an amazing experience. I've been to CONNEX last year as well. And I think it's the right platform for all the HR community in Pakistan to gather under one roof and share their thoughts around what is happening in HR community, what is happening around the technology, and how we can collaborate in a more meaningful way in order to serve our future generation in a better way.
Right. So talking about, the theme of this conference, which is basically the future of work. And we all have been talking about this, emerging landscape of disruptive innovation, Industrial Revolution 4.0, whereby we have been talking about the VUCA times. But I just want to, know your thoughts and opinions. That don't you think these VUCA times are more for, the Generation X and baby boomers, who are mostly on the top leadership of the organizations, rather for the millennials and Generation Z, because Generation Z or millennials, they're kind of inhabitants of this emerging landscape, but Generation X and baby boomers, they're kind of migrants into this emerging landscape. So don't you think it's more challenging for the Generation X to really make it happen and really manage to survive in these VUCA times?
Right. So I think there are different perspectives to it. Obviously, the Generation X is coming into this world, but it's all about the mindset, right? I think we all agree that we all have that Nokia 3310 mobile, the famous mobile. We used to carry that. But as this world disrupts us, we have quite easily moved to our smartphones. So this is exactly the example of a transformation which has happened over a period from Generation X to these millennials. So it's all about the mindset. It's all about here. So if you think that you really need to, focus and you really need to, go to the next level, you have to disrupt yourself. Because if you don't disrupt yourself, this world will disrupt you. So change is important. If you don't change yourself, someone else can come in and take the lead. We have great examples of, those big names like Nokia or Kodak for that matter. They were the industry leaders, right? But as we see, they are not, they have disappeared, right? And what was the reason? They don't disrupt themselves. So what I personally believe, there's a mindset change which we need to, cater into the organization we work for. And then obviously at the same time, the adoption of technology is also very important.
Absolutely true. So in this, IR 4.0, whereby creativity and innovation, these are one of the, attributes or skills which are really demanding in the emerging and the future. So what do you think? I need your opinion on that. The only way forward we see to really strive in this era is that Generation X and millennials and Generation Z, they work together in generating some research of consequence and some interventions through certain intellectual capital development forums, whereby they can really talk to each other and come with certain consequences and certain solutions.
No, I think collaboration is the key, right? So in any business, apart from collaborating between the HR, millennials, or the X generation, collaboration is the key in every aspect. So to bringing in the right people at the right platform, and giving the benefit to all of those people who work for you, I think that's the most important. And in fact, if we really want to take our organization to the next level and design the future of work, especially considering the industry 4.0, we really need to take a step back and think about how we can best collaborate, right? with the tools available within the industry, or the thought processes around, because that's really important for us to understand the market dynamics, because the market, the consumer, they are driving the market. They are changing the market like anything. So we really need to work at that pace in order to stay ahead of our competition and understand that what value being an HR professionals we can bring in to our organization. That's really important to understand that.
Thank you so very much. It was really lovely talking to you.